Imagine two people. One is born in a small village somewhere in the world. The other is born in America. Neither is smarter. Neither works harder. Neither has special talent. Yet statistically, one of them is far more likely to earn more money during their lifetime, far more likely to own assets, far more likely to build wealth, far more likely to participate in one of the most productive economies ever created. Why? Is it luck? Not exactly. Because America's greatest invention wasn't the airplane. It wasn't the internet. It wasn't the smartphone. It wasn't artificial intelligence. America's greatest invention was something much more powerful. A system so effective that it continuously turns ideas into companies, companies into industries, industries into wealth, and wealth into even more wealth. Most people think countries become rich because they have natural resources, oil, gold, coal, gas. But history proves otherwise. Some countries have enormous resources and remain poor. Others have very few resources and become rich, so clearly resources are not the answer. The real answer lies in something invisible: rules, incentives, institutions, and culture. Together, they form a system. And for more than a century, America's system has been one of the most powerful, wealth-generating machines ever built. Think about what happens when someone has an idea. In many places around the world, an idea stays an idea. A person dreams, then reality gets in the way. No funding, no investors, too much bureaucracy, too much risk, too little opportunity. Eventually, the idea dies. But America built something different, a place where ideas have a chance to become reality. Imagine you're sitting in a garage. You have a crazy idea. Everyone thinks you're insane. Your family doubts you. Your friends laugh. Experts say it won't work. In many countries, that's where the story ends. In America, that's often where the story begins, because somewhere out there is an investor willing to listen, someone willing to take a risk, someone willing to bet on the future. That single difference changes everything. It means ideas don't die as easily. It means innovation survives longer. It means more experiments happen. And when more experiments happen, more breakthroughs happen. Most fail. A few succeed, and those few successes can change the entire world. The internet was once a crazy idea. Online shopping was once a crazy idea. Social media was once a crazy idea. Electric vehicles were once a crazy idea. Artificial intelligence was once a crazy idea. Today, they generate trillions of dollars. But here's what makes the American system unique. It doesn't need every idea to succeed. It only needs a few winners. Imagine planting 1,000 seeds. 990 fail. 10 become giant trees. The forest still grows. That's exactly how the American economy works. Failure is accepted. Risk is rewarded. Success is amplified. And over time, this creates something extraordinary. A machine that constantly searches for the next breakthrough. But the real magic happens after a company succeeds. Because success in America doesn't just create wealth, it creates investment. Let's say someone builds a billion-dollar company. What happens next? They don't bury the money in their backyard. They invest. They fund startups. They buy assets. They support new businesses. They become venture capitalists. The money keeps moving. The money keeps working. The money creates more money. And suddenly, one successful company creates 10 more companies. Those 10 companies create 100 more, and the cycle continues. This is where most people misunderstand capitalism. They think wealth is like a pie. If one person gets a bigger slice, someone else gets less. But America's system often works differently. The pie itself becomes bigger. New industries appear. New technologies emerge. New jobs are created. New markets are born. The economy expands. That's why America has repeatedly produced industries that didn't exist before. Hollywood, Silicon Valley, cloud computing, e-commerce, modern social media, artificial intelligence. Entire sectors of the economy were built almost from scratch. And every time a new industry emerges, wealth creation accelerates. But innovation alone doesn't explain America's success. Because innovation needs fuel, and that fuel is capital. Capital is simply money looking for opportunity, and nowhere in human history has capital moved as efficiently as it does in America. This is where Wall Street enters the story. Most people see Wall Street as a street, a group of buildings, a stock exchange. But Wall Street is really a giant allocation machine. Every day, trillions of dollars search for the next opportunity, the next breakthrough, the next revolutionary company, the next billion-dollar idea. And because capital flows so efficiently, companies can grow incredibly fast. A startup can become a global giant within a decade. A small business can become an industry leader. A new technology can spread across the world. The system rewards growth. The system rewards efficiency. The system rewards innovation. And that's exactly why America's economy became larger than anyone imagined. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating, because America's richest resource isn't oil. It isn't land. It isn't gold. It isn't even technology. America's most valuable resource is something no one can see. And once you understand it, you'll understand why this system became the most powerful wealth machine in modern history. America's most valuable resource isn't buried underground. It isn't found in oil fields. It isn't hidden inside mountains. It isn't stored in government vaults. In fact, it can't be touched at all, because America's most valuable resource is trust. And trust is far more powerful than most people realize. Imagine you have $1 million. Would you rather invest it in a country where laws change overnight, where contracts are ignored, where businesses can be shut down without warning? Or would you invest it in a place where rules are relatively predictable, contracts are enforced, and businesses can plan for the future? The answer is obvious. Money follows trust. Always. And for decades, trillions of dollars from around the world have flowed into America because investors believe in the system. Not because America is perfect, not because it never makes mistakes, but because investors generally believe the rules tomorrow will look similar to the rules today. That predictability creates confidence, and confidence attracts capital. This is one of the biggest secrets behind American wealth. The richest countries aren't necessarily the ones with the most resources. They're often the ones where people feel comfortable taking risks. Think about what happens when trust exists. Banks lend money. Investors fund companies. Entrepreneurs start businesses. Consumers spend money. Markets grow. Economic activity accelerates. Now imagine the opposite. Nobody trusts anyone. Nobody trusts the government. Nobody trusts contracts. Nobody trusts institutions. Investment collapses. Growth slows. Innovation disappears. The economy suffers. Trust may be invisible, but its economic impact is enormous. And once trust becomes part of a system, it starts creating powerful chain reactions. Because trust doesn't just attract money, it attracts talent. Think about the smartest people in the world: scientists, engineers, researchers, founders, inventors. Where do they want to build their careers? Where do they want to launch companies? Where do they want to create innovations? Often they choose places where opportunities are greatest, and for generations, America has attracted ambitious people from almost every corner of the planet. Some arrived with degrees, some arrived with skills, some arrived with almost nothing, but many arrived with dreams. And the American system gave those dreams a place to grow. This created one of the most powerful economic advantages imaginable, because talent compounds. When smart people work together, innovation accelerates. One inventor inspires another. One entrepreneur funds another. One breakthrough leads to 10 more breakthroughs. Over time, talent begins attracting even more talent, and eventually, entire ecosystems emerge. That's exactly what happened in places like Silicon Valley. People often ask why Silicon Valley became the center of the technology world. The answer isn't geography. The weather helped. The universities helped. The investment capital helped. But the real answer is concentration. Talented people gathered in one place. Investors gathered in one place. Companies gathered in one place. Ideas spread faster. Knowledge spread faster. Innovation spread faster. Imagine placing thousands of the world's brightest minds in the same ecosystem. Eventually, something extraordinary happens. The rate of innovation explodes. That's exactly what America managed to create. And once innovation accelerates, wealth creation accelerates alongside it. But here's where things become truly fascinating, because the American system doesn't only reward innovation, it rewards ownership. This might be the most important piece of the entire puzzle. Most people work for money, but the wealthiest people often own things. They own businesses, they own stocks, they own real estate, they own intellectual property, they own assets. And assets behave differently than income. Income requires work. Assets can grow while you sleep. Imagine owning a tiny piece of a successful company. If that company grows, your wealth grows. If it expands internationally, your wealth grows. If profits increase, your wealth grows. You don't have to personally build every product. You don't have to personally make every sale. Ownership allows people to participate in growth, and America built one of the largest ownership systems in human history. Millions of Americans own stocks. Millions own retirement accounts. Millions own real estate. Millions indirectly participate in economic growth through investments. This creates a remarkable situation. When businesses succeed, many ordinary people benefit too. Their retirement accounts grow. Their investments grow. Their assets appreciate. The system encourages participation, and participation creates wealth. Now, compare this to previous periods in history. For most of human civilization, wealth was concentrated among kings, emperors, nobles, and ruling elites. Ordinary people had little opportunity to participate. America wasn't the first country to allow ownership, but it expanded ownership on a scale rarely seen before. The stock market became accessible. Home ownership expanded, entrepreneurship increased, investment opportunities multiplied, and over time, millions of people became stakeholders in economic growth. That doesn't mean everyone became rich, far from it. Economic inequality still exists. Opportunities are not distributed equally. Challenges remain. But the system dramatically increased the number of people who could build wealth compared to many earlier economic systems. And then came another advantage: scale. America isn't just wealthy, it's enormous. More than 300 million consumers, one language dominating business communication, a massive transportation network, integrated markets, shared financial systems. Imagine launching a product. In many countries, reaching a large audience requires crossing borders, different laws, different currencies, different regulations, different languages. In America, a company can often scale nationally without facing those barriers. That creates efficiency, and efficiency creates profit. A successful idea can spread rapidly. A successful company can grow quickly, and growth attracts even more investment. The result is a system that continuously rewards expansion. But the biggest transformation was still ahead, because eventually a new technology arrived. A technology that would amplify every advantage America already possessed. A technology that would connect billions of people. A technology that would create trillions of dollars in wealth: the Internet. And once the Internet arrived, America's economic machine shifted into an entirely new gear. The companies born during that era would become some of the most valuable organizations ever created, and they would push American wealth to levels previous generations could barely imagine. The Internet didn't just change America. It changed the rules of the game. For thousands of years, economic growth was limited by physical reality. If you wanted to sell more products, you needed more stores. If you wanted more customers, you needed more locations. If you wanted more revenue, you needed more employees. Growth was expensive, slow, and often limited by geography. Then the Internet arrived, and suddenly something incredible became possible. A company could serve millions of people without building millions of stores. A startup could reach customers on the other side of the planet. A single piece of software could be copied and distributed almost infinitely. For the first time in history, businesses could scale at a speed the world had never seen before, and America was perfectly positioned to take advantage of it. Because remember, the United States already had the ingredients: capital, talent, universities, entrepreneurs, investors, and a culture that rewarded innovation. The internet simply connected all those advantages together. Imagine gasoline sitting in a tank. On its own, it's powerful, but without an engine, it doesn't go anywhere. The internet became the engine, and America's innovation ecosystem became the fuel. The result was explosive. Small startups became global giants. Unknown founders became billionaires. Entire industries emerged almost overnight. Companies began creating products that cost almost nothing to distribute. Think about software. Once it's built, millions of people can download it. The company doesn't need to manufacture a physical product every time someone becomes a customer. That changes everything, because profit margins can become enormous. And when profit margins become enormous, investors become interested. When investors become interested, capital flows in. When capital flows in, innovation accelerates. And when innovation accelerates, economic growth accelerates. This cycle repeated itself over and over again. A startup creates a breakthrough. Investors fund it. Customers adopt it. Revenue explodes. The company grows. Employees become wealthy. Founders become wealthy. Investors become wealthy. Then those same people invest in the next generation of startups, and the cycle begins again. This is one reason America became so wealthy during the technology era. The system continuously recycled success into future innovation. Money wasn't just being spent, it was being reinvested. Again and again and again. Every generation of successful companies helped create the next generation. The founders of yesterday funded the founders of tomorrow. The investors of yesterday funded the innovators of tomorrow. The breakthroughs of yesterday inspired the breakthroughs of tomorrow. The machine kept getting stronger. But here's the part most people never notice. The American system doesn't just reward success. It aggressively hunts for efficiency. Efficiency may sound boring, but it is one of the most powerful wealth creation forces ever discovered. Imagine two companies. Both sell the same product. One produces it faster, cheaper, better. Which company wins? Usually the efficient one. Now imagine an entire economy built around constantly searching for better ways to do things. Better technology, better logistics, better manufacturing, better software, better management, better distribution. Small improvements happen everywhere. Each improvement seems insignificant, but together they create massive gains. This is called productivity. And productivity is one of the biggest reasons nations become rich. When workers become more productive, they create more value. When companies become more productive, profits increase. When economies become more productive, living standards rise. America spent decades becoming one of the most productive economies in history. Factories became more efficient. Supply chains became more advanced. Technology improved workflows. Automation increased output, and each improvement made the economy stronger. The average person rarely notices these changes. They happen gradually, quietly, in the background. But over decades, they transform entire societies. This is why productivity matters so much, because wealth is not created by printing money. Wealth is created by producing more value, and America became exceptionally good at producing value. But perhaps the most important advantage wasn't productivity, or technology, or even capital. It was competition. Competition is uncomfortable. Businesses hate competition. Companies fear competition. Industries try to avoid competition. But competition forces improvement. Imagine running a business with no competitors. Would you innovate as fast? Would you improve your products as quickly? Would you lower prices? Probably not. Competition creates pressure, and pressure creates progress. America built one of the most competitive business environments in the world. Thousands of companies constantly compete for customers, compete for talent, compete for market share, compete for innovation. Most fail. A few succeed, and the survivors become stronger. It's similar to evolution. The strongest ideas survive, the weakest disappear. Over time, the system becomes more efficient, more innovative, more productive, more valuable. This process isn't always comfortable. Businesses collapse, industries change, jobs disappear, new jobs emerge, entire sectors rise and fall, but the overall system keeps evolving, and evolution creates growth. Then something happened that made America's economic system even more powerful: globalization. Suddenly, companies weren't limited to domestic markets. They could reach the entire world. A business founded in California could sell products in Europe. A software company in Texas could serve customers in Asia. A startup in New York could attract users from every continent. The potential market became enormous. And when markets become enormous, opportunities become enormous. This is one reason American companies became so dominant. They weren't building for one city, or one state, or even one country. They were building for the world. And when successful companies operate at global scale, the amount of wealth they can generate becomes almost unimaginable. Some corporations became larger than entire national economies. Some platforms attracted billions of users. Some technologies became essential to everyday life. The scale was unprecedented. But despite all these advantages, there is one final reason why the system made America richer than ever. And strangely enough, it has nothing to do with money, nothing to do with technology, nothing to do with Wall Street, nothing to do with the internet. It's something far more powerful: a mindset, a way of thinking that shaped generations of entrepreneurs, inventors, investors, and dreamers. And that mindset may be the single biggest reason America's economic machine continues to outperform much of the world. If you walked through America 200 years ago and told people that one day a teenager with a laptop could build a billion-dollar company, most would laugh. If you told them that a simple idea could create more wealth than entire industries once produced, they would think you were crazy. If you told them that a small startup could become one of the most valuable companies in human history, they wouldn't believe you. And yet, that's exactly what happened. Because the most powerful part of America's economic system was never money. It was belief. The belief that tomorrow can be better than today. The belief that new ideas matter. The belief that ordinary people can build extraordinary things. The belief that the future can be created rather than simply accepted. That mindset changed everything. Throughout history, most people spent their lives trying to preserve what already existed. But America's economic culture often rewards those who try to build what doesn't exist yet. That sounds simple, but it's incredibly rare, because creating something new is risky, very risky. Most new businesses fail, most inventions fail, most experiments fail, most ideas fail. Yet despite those odds, people keep trying. And that willingness to try is one of the greatest engines of economic growth ever discovered. Think about the people who built revolutionary companies. At the beginning, nobody knew they would succeed. Nobody knew which startup would become a giant. Nobody knew which technology would transform the world. Nobody knew which founder would become a billionaire. The future was uncertain. It always is. But uncertainty didn't stop people from building. And that is where America's system becomes so powerful. It doesn't require certainty. It rewards possibility. It rewards the chance that something extraordinary might happen. And when millions of people pursue possibilities at the same time, incredible things start happening. Some create better products. Some create better software. Some create better machines. Some create entirely new industries. Most fail, but a few succeed beyond anyone's imagination, and those rare successes create enormous economic value. Now imagine this process repeating for generations, decade after decade, innovation after innovation, company after company, breakthrough after breakthrough. Eventually, you don't just get economic growth, you get economic dominance. That's exactly what happened in America. The system continuously encouraged people to solve problems, and every problem solved created new opportunities. When transportation was inefficient, entrepreneurs improved transportation. When communication was slow, innovators improved communication. When computing was difficult, engineers improved computing. When information was hard to access, technology companies transformed access to information. Each solution created new industries. Each industry created new jobs. Each job created new spending. Each spending cycle created more economic activity. The machine kept expanding. And here's something fascinating. Many people think wealth is money, but money is only a measurement. Real wealth is productivity, knowledge, innovation, technology, skills, infrastructure, systems. America became richer because it became extraordinarily good at combining those things together. Think about the smartphone in your pocket. That single device contains thousands of innovations: software, semiconductors, communication networks, engineering breakthroughs, design systems, manufacturing processes, global logistics, financial infrastructure. None of those things appeared overnight. They are the result of decades of accumulated innovation, and that's how wealth is truly created. One improvement at a time, one invention at a time, one breakthrough at a time. Over many years, America mastered this process, and once a country masters continuous innovation, growth becomes self-reinforcing. Success creates confidence. Confidence attracts investment. Investment creates innovation. Innovation creates growth. Growth creates success. The cycle continues, but now we arrive at the most important question. Can this continue forever? The honest answer is no. Nothing lasts forever. Every great economic power in history eventually faced challenges. The Dutch Golden Age ended. The Spanish Empire declined. The British Empire lost its dominance. History never stands still, and America is not exempt from history. New competitors are emerging. Technology is changing rapidly. Artificial intelligence is reshaping industries. Global markets are evolving. The economic landscape of the next 50 years may look completely different from today's world. Yet America still possesses something incredibly valuable: adaptability. For more than 2 centuries, the country has repeatedly reinvented itself. Agricultural economy, industrial economy, manufacturing economy, technology economy, digital economy, and now, potentially, an AI economy. Every time the rules changed, America found ways to compete again. That doesn't guarantee future success, but it explains why so many investors, entrepreneurs, and innovators continue to place their bets on America, because the system itself remains powerful, not perfect, but powerful. The system rewards ambition. The system rewards innovation. The system rewards ownership. The system rewards problem solving, and perhaps most importantly, the system rewards people who create value for others. That's the hidden secret behind America's wealth. Not money, not Wall Street, not Silicon Valley, not even the dollar. Those are outcomes. The real engine is the system underneath them, a system that continuously turns ideas into companies, companies into industries, industries into wealth, and wealth into the next generation of innovation. That's why America became richer than ever, because while many countries focused on protecting wealth, America became exceptionally good at creating it, again and again and again, for generation after generation. And that may be the most important economic lesson of all. The richest nations aren't always the ones with the most resources. They're often the ones with the best systems, the systems that encourage innovation, the systems that attract talent, the systems that reward productivity, the systems that transform imagination into reality. And for more than a century, no system has done that on a larger scale than the one that helped build the United States economy. That's not just the story of America. That's the story of how systems shape the destiny of nations. And as the next technological revolution begins, one question remains unanswered. Will this same system create the next era of American wealth? Or is the world about to witness the rise of something even bigger?